Hey, well, as always, I'm happy to be here with Buck Jordan, who is the head of Wavemaker Labs, but also you have a new role that you're talking about today. Buck, you're president of a new company called Nommi.
I do, Mike. It's one of the most exciting companies we've started in Wavemaker Labs so far, I think.
Yeah, so let's tell people what Nommi is. It is essentially a robotic kitchen that can do the work of a chef, essentially, from my gather. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so we're really trying to reimagine the restaurant experience and using intelligent automation solutions to do that, to create really healthy and fresh food that's highly customizable. To get specific, what we're doing is we're automating bowl-based dishes. So, grain bowls, noodles, and then it goes into a bowl or a wok or cooked in a pot. And we're pairing that with in a highly automated kind of kiosk format, it's a big kiosk, granted, that's built not only for walk-up pickup, but also built for to service delivery. And the footprint of it, we believe we can get into not just the kiosk, but also into, of course, shipping containers, but into to bring it mobile.
So let's talk about how this thing was brought to market, right? You have some interesting partners in that you're working with like Iron Chef Morimoto, and you're also working with C3, which is a large kind of food service company that's tied to a lot of celebrity chefs. So talk about a little bit of the development story.
Nommi, it was really intentional. We've just been through COVID, and we really want to take a look at what the post-COVID world is looking like. And we found that there are three major problems. One, kind of the obvious one, is that there's just no labor out there. Restaurants are screaming for labor. And the labor that is there has a much higher quit rate. So in other words, like hospitality workers quit jobs 6.8% of the time, versus the national quit rate's about 2.9%. We can give you the stats for that. But a really interesting kind of output of that is that if you're a full service restaurant, you're missing 6.2 people in the back of house and 2.8 people in the front of house. So one, that says, okay, we have a real problem. But two, it says there's a real problem in the back of house as opposed to the front of house. People are more likely to want to work in the front of house. And also, just like the case for the economic case for automation continues to get better rather rapidly. So in 2019, the national average hourly wage was about $12.8 an hour, and in 2021 it was $15.14 per hour. So that's about an 18% increase in just 2 years, and that's staggering. We're not increasing prices that fast, so margins are continuing to get shrunk. And so one, labor is a huge problem. So this product that we built needed to be as labor light as possible. Really, we're building it to be service in half an hour a day. It does get service daily for cleaning and also restocking, because ingredients are really important. And so, but one person will be able to restock, probably 6, maybe more units in a day. The second major problem that the industry is facing is explosion of demand for takeout and delivery, especially delivery, right? And so, for instance, Gen Z and millennials, about 60% of them order food every single week, and that's only going up. Like the overall top line delivery revenue in the United States is almost going to double in the next 5 years. So this is like a trend that is not going away. And personally, I probably order delivery 2-3 times a week. I think that stat might be off. I don't know. And so that's just, I don't know, by my own take. And then the problem is that with this explosion of delivery, you might initially say that's a great thing for restaurants, but of course, what's happening is top line is growing, but bottom line is staying the same, because these delivery apps take 15 to 30% of the orders. 30% if you're a mom and pop, maybe 15 if you're like a big at-scale restaurant. And so huge problem, and that needs to be addressed too, but that's a different story. And then third major problem is that consumers really want high quality food, and that's why you see kind of like the elevation of fast food. Like you see the McCafe kind of movements, which has been around for a long time, but it's human safety. And so, how are we going to create food in a really tight, compact, real estate compact environment, create high quality, customizable food in a safe way? And so, Nommi is designed to tackle those three trends. I think are the biggest three trends in the industry.
So you started development on this robot during the pandemic. Let's hear a little specifics on how you developed it. You brought in some new talent.
So we started developing. I want to say 9, 10 months ago, in terms of actually kind of doing real engineering. And
Okay.
as we started developing it, we really wanted to try to get partners to allow this to scale quickly and really kind of stack the deck before we start playing. So that's why we went to C3. And so C3 is run by Sam Nazarian, this incredible restaurateur, used to founder of SBE, which owns SLS Hotels and all that stuff. So
Yep.
C3 is this incredible group of world-class chefs. Like, they have access to Morimoto. They brought us Morimoto, and many more chefs like that. And they really know about restaurant operations. They can really help us scale quickly once this product is ready. So we're the world-class robotic talent. He's the world-class operator in food, and also gives us kind of incredible scale. And then Chef Morimoto is the best chef I could ever ask for. He's an incredible chef. His food also kind of fits what will work in our machine. And so we think those three things are really going to be a knockout. So we started working on it about 9, 10 months ago, and we're just launching a crowdfund this Tuesday.
So they're an innovation partner. As you sell this new Nommi into other potential operator scenarios, are they continuing to be a partner in the company? So Nommi is kind of standing alone with C3 as a
basically,
partner?
we are partners on the cap table. We all own equity together in the same company, and so they're gonna and we all have our lanes, right? We're gonna take care of the robotics. They're gonna take care of the restaurant operations and distribution for us.
This robot's different from other ones I've seen from you guys. It's an interesting one where you have kind of a little, and we'll have a video when you see this stir in the spoon, because you guys have a great video, has a little almost cart that moves along under kind of the dispensers on wheels. Yeah. So talk about like the thought process of why you had this particular design for this robot.
Negotiation that happens between engineering and world-class chefs like Morimoto, as you can imagine, right? Because like we can't do everything, and like a Michelin star chef might want us to like take a pair of tweezers and like put a piece of basil on top, but he also is incredibly demanding on the high quality of food that goes through it. And so whereas you see a lot of robotic companies, food robotic companies that are basically kind of taking engineering shortcuts, like there's a lot of frozen pizza vending machines out there, for instance, that just make a perfectly great frozen pizza, but it's still a frozen. But Chef Morimoto wants really really high quality food, and there's no compromising when he puts his name on it. So we really need to elevate ourselves. So sorry, long answer, but Nommi, this little robot that kind of carries the bowl, he wanted to be able to precisely place ingredients in the bowl, to make kind of a beautiful presentation, not just a bowl of mixed up stuff, So Nommi will actually rotate. It'll put like the different ingredients in different sections, so it's appealing. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you made that design choice. You could have you didn't use a robotic arm. You had some kind of things you had to kind of work around, because I think you wanted to make it consumer facing in a kiosk format. It's different from Flippy, in that Flippy is a back of house robot with is going into maybe existing kitchens. So all these factors, I imagine, were part of the design equation.
There's an interesting future of restaurants that we think is going to occur. So there's always going to be humans in kitchens, but they're going to be assisted by things like Flippy in the back of house. Flippy will take care of the more complicated stuff like frying or dangerous and unappealing jobs like frying, working the grill, filling drinks and other things like that. But there is a future where there are fully autonomous restaurants and fully autonomous restaurant brands and franchises in the future. So look at Creator, look at Spice. There will be companies, there will be brands built from the ground up to be automated. And so we want to take the best in class food from Michelin star chefs and really high quality chefs and bring fine dining to the masses. And we want to do it in a fully automated way and be able to have a grain bowl made by Morimoto costs the same as a Big Mac.
So is this akin to Spice or something like that, where it might go into a place with a sit down front of house Or because a lot of times when I think of a kiosk, right, I'm thinking of, okay, it's maybe sitting in the middle of a mall, or maybe it is kind of like in a student union building or something. But is part of the concept? So you want to design like restaurant sit down where you have essentially kind of the food automated using Nommi, and
So
then people
some
go
of
and
our
sit down in
restaurant
the same
customers
space?
have expressed interest in having, because we're a really compact form factor compared to like a full fully blown kitchen. Some of our restaurant
Yep.
customers have expressed interest in having us augment their existing kitchens. But I think primarily, we're building this to be really delivery accessible. We think that there's deliveries going to double in
Okay.
the next 5 years, and so we want to be part of that. Design that go through our system will be very delivery to be picked up by the regular delivery apps by a human. But in the long term, we are trying to figure out a way to have a robotic transfer system to some of these robotic delivery machines out there to make a full end-to-end. Yeah.
Well, got it. So I know Sam and C3 has been like looking and doing a lot of work around, I guess, essentially virtual brands and virtual dining hall concepts. And so this maybe is plugging into some of those virtual dining hall concepts where like someday I may pull up my Uber Eats or whatever, and I order a great looking bowl. It's made by a robot, and C3 is kind of powering kind
they're
of
going
the
to make
commerce
sure that we
side of
have
it. Is that
incredible
maybe a
tasting
part of
food
what you
with
guys are
access to the
envisioning?
world's best chefs. But in the end of the day, like, since we're now living in a delivery environment, the only thing that matters is the taste. And so we really want to have really high quality food, and that's kind of what we're trying to stick to, and not make compromises just because we're roboticists.
I mean, we've been talking a lot about like automation and AI and technology eventually starts to replace the chef. And one of the working theses of like what we've been talking about at the Smart Kitchen Summit for a long time is like, how do you digitize chef intellectual property, essentially iTunize it more, whether that's just through kind of recipes that are programmable to your appliances to like fully automated robotics that kind of create something like a top chef would make. So it sounds like you are essentially creating this manufacturing machine using robotics that can take ideas that are in chefs' heads
with perfect execution,
and then put it into actual food using technology.
That's it. No, basically,
That's awesome.
It's like, there are of course parameters and limitations to what we can do, but increasingly not so many limitations to what we can build. And so the chef partners that we're working with, and we are working with other ones. The chef partners we're working with actually have a lot of options for what they can create for their consumers, and they don't have to worry about like dumbing down their menu either.
1,000, yeah. There's in the press release you talk about 1,000 units, or the press release talks about 1,000 units by C3. So what is the timetable for that?
Are we looking at maybe
1,000 units in the field by end of 2022, 2023?
There will be another refinement iteration on the system, and so by 23 we think we're going to have our production unit out.
Okay.
I don't pretend to say that we're going to have 1,000 units out in 23, but that's when we're going to start deploying heavily. Is our CTO.
You brought in a roboticist, I think, for this. I think on the video I saw.
He's director of robotics at Boston Dynamics.
Talk a little bit about some of the talent you brought in to help
where he built the walking dog. Prior to that, he was a professor at McGill University for about a dozen years, where he focused on legged robotics. He actually brought his entire team and the tech stack to Boston Dynamics, and then he was director of robotics, or equivalent title, at Disney's R&D Imagineering, building kind of walking robots. Where he was, and then also at Medtronic doing surgical robots, also at iRobot, and then at Creator, where of course they did burger making robots. And so he's come in to really focus on kind of elevating the craft here to match Morimoto's talent.
So let's talk about the broader Wavemaker portfolio, right? You have this one now where it's a kiosk, essentially full robotic kitchen kiosk. You do have the Paestro, which is doing kind of a kiosk, but more for pizza. You have Flippy.
We
it
have a
seems
lot
like
more
you're
to
kind of
do,
filling all the
and we're
different
also going to
holes
start doing a
along the
lot more in
continuum
ag.
in which you can apply
So
automation robotics to make food.
our
Are you
mission
guys
at
done, or
Wavemaker
you guys
Labs
see
is to
more in the
automate the entire
future?
supply chain of food from seed to fork, with the outcome being higher quality food, less cost to the masses. And so, so we think that significantly that there's a real problem in food costs when it comes to food preparation because there's no labor and there's high costs and increasing costs of people to prepare food. So we're essentially taking the largest food, the highest volume food in the United States that's produced and sold, and then automating those. So we're working our way down the list essentially. We've got pizza. We've got Nommi, which is of course Chinese food, is a huge Nommi, which is of course Chinese food, is a huge and several others, right? And so we think we can take costs of the supply chain, at the front of house, but also in the agricultural sector. We have a company called Future Acres, which is which is actually an autonomous lawnmower, kind of ag adjacent, I would call it. And then several other companies in the agricultural space that we're going to be launching as well.
I think what about like hyper local food production that is in restaurants, right? I mean, I think Breadbots is a little bit unique to me. They stand alone in that they are kind of a point of presence in like grocery retail. I check in with them every now and then. It doesn't look like they're quite ready for production, but are you looking at like that
really
type of thing, like maybe
do something
mini food
in that
factories
space,
that
because
could
it's
go
all about
into
the
like
end goal. Like,
grocery retail?
the mission here is like, we want to play in all parts of the supply chain that we can, basically. So, and by the way, I think what the Breadbot guys are doing is really cool and really interesting, and just super innovative. Because like they're able to take the price of bread and really just they could drop it significantly because of the way they're doing everything.
They were ahead at CS in 2019, I think. Now,
Beautiful.
mainly because everyone loves the smell of bread, and we were drawn like flies to it. So they were just a hit because of that. I do have to ask you though, because I love the consumer kitchen. We have an event called the Smart Kitchen Summit. I did have a couple folks come and talk about robotics in terms of the consumer kitchen context. I'm sure you know Mark from Moly. Been working at that for 5 or 6 years with this crazy robotic chef. We also had on the other end of the spectrum, the guys from Nimble, Ragab from Nimble, talk about kind of one of those very smaller form factor countertops.
Well,
What
I
are
mean,
your
like
thoughts on the
let's
evolution
just
of
kind of break down
robotics in the
big
consumer
problems.
kitchen on a 10-year time horizon?
So the kitchen is the most expensive place, or the most expensive room to build in a house. It's like $250,000. It can be like if you're building a super top of the line kitchen. And people are increasingly, but at the same time, we started this conversation saying that people are not cooking at home. It's like we have a mismatch here. So people want these really expensive, amazing kitchens,
Yeah.
that's stainless steel and beautiful, but they don't want to cook in them, and they're willing to spend a lot of money to have like a room that they don't use. And so like there's a problem here, and so I think that there's a huge opportunity for companies like Moly and whomever else to come in and automate the kitchen. But you got to do a real serious job of automating the prep and the cleanup and the cooking. And so I'm extremely excited about doing something in that space, because I just think that while it will be a more expensive robot, there's also the ability to pay more too. Because if you build something into a kitchen, well, guess what? You can finance that with a home loan at whatever home loan prices are. So and I think there's certainly going to be, like, let's say maybe like it would only make sense like a $2 million house or more. I'm just making this up, right? Would you pay an extra $250,000 to have your kitchen in that $2 million house be fully autonomous? I think most people would say yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. You have to involve the home buyer. It probably involves a new home build. Otherwise, it's probably going to have to be a lower cost countertop device. I do think, I don't know if you saw, Sony put out a proof of concept like 2 years ago, like a 10-year video future forward concept. It was a really cool kind of robotic concept. I think they're on the right track. But it's gonna have to work really well. So, but I am excited that Wavemaker is thinking potentially of the consumer kitchen. That's exciting.
Large corporations to be able to do this with us. So we would love to work with an LG, or love to work with someone else who supplies kitchen equipment today, because we bring a very specialized skill set, and that is like advanced robotics and food. And of course, they have incredible distribution and manufacturing talent. And so we're always looking for partners who can really give us the edge, just like C3 and Morimoto. Thank you, Mike. Great seeing you.
Great. Hey, well, as always, Buck, thank you so much for telling me about what you guys are building. I'm going to hit stop recording. I can edit this part out here.